This is KCCK's Culture Crawl. I'm Dennis Green, and my guest today is Jim Dreier, who is leading the band for the final performance of Jazz Under the Stars coming up Thursday at the McGrath Amphitheatre in our new location.
Awesome.
Jim has played Jazz Under the Stars many times in many different bands, but this will be Ritmocano's first appearance and your first time at McGrath Amphitheatre.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to it. Very excited about this performance and opportunity.
So, Jim, let's talk just a little bit about you are one of the, if not the, preeminent Latin percussion instructors and players in our region, if not the entire state, Midwest. I'll give you Midwest. And tell me about how a guy who grows up in Cedar Falls, Iowa, takes this much interest in this style of music.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy, isn't it? I don't know. My parents weren't even musical, much less into Latin music, so I did not grow up listening to the music, except my introduction was Carlos Santana and his first album, which I remember listening to on my parents' stereo in their living room, console stereo, big wooden stereo and classic turntable situation. So I was drawn to the percussion. I thought that was really cool. I started putting that percussion into the rock bands I was playing in. And when I went to Berkeley, I began studying with they just had a Afro-Cuban teacher, percussionist there, their very first one. So I started studying it there and then continued there. When I came back to Cedar Falls, of course, I had the opportunity to play with Orquesta Alto Maiz. Bob Washer was just
you were one of the original
founding father
members of Orquesta Alto Maiz.
That's absolutely true, and that was by far the most important teaching experience for Latin music I could have asked for, because it allowed me. That band played a variety of Latin styles. We were all learning it, and of course we had Ed East, my very good friend, who's also in Ritmocano, who was a Panamanian who had grown up listening to the music, and a Spanish speaker. So we had that element, and we had a bunch of musicians that were anxious to learn the style.
But really, that's what it was. It was a case. I mean, for those of us who've seen the Salsa Band over the years and appreciated your artistic expertise, when you guys started this, you were really all just kind of coming in blank slates, wanting to learn more about the music.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I'd had some experience at Berkeley, but there was no Latin jazz ensemble at Berkeley at that time. And I had just learned some rhythms and conga stuff. But I had continued to be interested in it. And I had just met Bob, because I'd moved back in '86. And he asked me to be part of the very first gig, and it was a continued learning experience from that point on. Our early gigs, if we got through a tune without getting lost and messing up, it was unique. But we kept at it, and we kept learning, and then I continued my study with it and began going to Cuba and Brazil, and continuing to study with teachers and just continuing my road of discovery.
And of course, you're also primarily a lecturer in this type of Latin jazz percussion at the University of Iowa. And one of the things that you do there is you run the U of I Latin Jazz Ensemble. How long has that been going on?
Since 2003, I believe. And that is another case of an ensemble kind of starting very low level, just starting at basically a combo level, and that's now at being considered one of the top ensembles at the school. So I'm very gratified that John Rapson allowed me to sort of create this ensemble and give me this opportunity to work and the students a chance to work in the styles, and it helped a lot, and people like it. It's a fun thing, and we have some awesome opportunities coming up, so it's been great.
And this is many years. It's like the Orquesta Alto Maiz on a slightly smaller scale. I mean, some years you have students who've grown up with this kind of music, who have, international students who come to the University of Iowa, and other times you have kids who don't have any experience with it at all.
Yeah, I'd say 80% or 90% of the students that come in have never really studied Latin music. They've played Latin charts in their big bands in high school. And I use my book as a textbook, basically, in the class, so they're required to look at it and read parts and chapters of it, and that helps them understand it. We try to do all styles: Brazilian, Cuban, Caribbean. Sometimes it's very jazzy with just elements of Latin into it, and sometimes it's a salsa tune. If I have singers, and I've had good singers in the group, then we try to do actual salsa tunes with all the arranged parts and everything. So it's been really, really a great opportunity. This year I have 2 Brazilians in the group. Fabio Augustinus, of course, is my drummer, and he's an amazing, fabulous drummer. And he's been in the group now since he came a year and a half ago. And he's been a great asset. He's been bringing in music. He talks to the students about styles. He can give them much more insight about the Brazilian styles, of course, than I can. And we really try to tap into his knowledge base. So it's great. We've had mostly Brazilians. We have yet to have a Cuban graduate student for obvious reasons, but maybe that will change.
Talking with Jim Dreier about the final Jazz Under the Stars, James Dreier and Ritmocano. Well, let's talk a little bit about Ritmocano.
Okay.
You retired from kind of full-time touring with the Orquesta Alto Maiz a few years ago.
Right.
Did not take you too long, though, to form your own Latin jazz band. Tell me about what you're trying to accomplish with Ritmocano that is different than your experience with the Salsa Band.
Well, it's a smaller project in scope and size, and really a Latin jazz more, not a salsa band. So whereas in Orquesta Alto Maiz we really gravitated more into a salsa band and with the singing and all the we had always had 2 strong trumpet players, so we could always do those high lead parts and that are required for that kind of music. I wanted my group to be a little bit more nimble and a little bit more jazz-oriented. I obviously didn't feel like we needed to, Orquesta Alto Maiz is still operating. Ed runs that and is doing a great job, but it plays less frequently. But they're still out there, and I still play with them, which is awesome. I enjoy that a lot as a sideman. But I wanted Ritmocano to be more of a group that could go into a jazz club and play, because I knew that's like, we're not going to go into a salsa club. That's just not going to work. So I wanted it to be more of a jazz-focused group, just 2 horns. I run it with either Ed East as my percussionist or Ed and Paul Cunliffe. And in a way, the band is a smaller version of Orquesta Alto Maiz, because
a lot of familiar names there.
Steve Shanley, Danny O'Lean, Ed East, Paul Cunliffe are all now currently in Orquesta Alto Maiz.
Right. So the rhythm section is
basically
from Orquesta.
Basically a farm team for Orquesta Alto Maiz.
So if I was going to characterize this in way too simplistic a fashion, it would almost be like the difference in non-Latin jazz between a big band that plays charts and is kind of focused on music for people to dance to,
right,
and a small jazz combo that would, like you say, play in a club and would be more about improvisation and and playing for music. Not that dancing is a bad thing, but it's on the Latin side, it's kind of the same thing. A salsa band is a big band,
larger band usually.
It's focused on dance music, and you want to focus on true Latin jazz.
Right. It's more like we're trying to more the Paquito de Rivera model for our band, because we have Damani Phillips playing alto. And
Damani, who just played with his own trio at Jazz Under the Stars a week ago. Yes, well, that was a great night. And when I said at the end of his performance, I said, and he'll be back in a couple of weeks playing with Ritmocano, that got a round of applause.
Good, awesome, yeah. Well, Damani's a great player, and he's so dynamic. He's funny because he'll ask me, if we're playing a smaller room or if it's maybe a little bit more contained, he'll go, do you need me to be polite in his playing? And I say, Damani, I never want you to be polite because that's not you. I mean, you know what he's saying. Do I need to be contained? He's just trying to play to the room and stuff. But that's what I love about his playing is his passion and his energy. And that group is all about, it's supposed to be very gratifying for everybody to play with because obviously we're not, making huge amounts of money. This is an artistic venture. I try to pay the guys fairly when we go out and do stuff, but it should be a lot of fun for us, and it is. I love it. It's been a fantastic vehicle for me. It's really fun being able to be a leader and putting the stuff together, putting the repertoire together. I rely heavily on my bandmates, especially Steve Shanley. He just brought an arrangement in. We worked up a new arrangement of Summertime for the show coming up, which is an awesome arrangement. And I rely on all of them. It's really a communal thing with me just sort of putting the parts together. And
you mentioned Damani in the horn section. You said 2 horns.
Yes, so
it'll be Rich?
Rich Med.
On the trombone.
And he's been my a long time. Of course, he was in Orquesta Alto Maiz for many years, and one of my dear friends. And it's awesome to have him in the group. He brings the same unique soloing style and energy and artistic, unique artistic approach that Damani does. So they're great to have those two people as our sort of horn players and soloists.
I always love hearing in any genre of music people taking a song that I know and doing something totally different with it.
Yeah.
And that's what this is kind of all about, because you take a lot of jazz standards. I mean, I'm thinking about Song for My Father from the first Familia release and reinventing it as a Latin tune, which people have done for years and years, but that doesn't mean it's any less fun to watch it happen.
No, we do a lot of that. I have a tune that I arranged. It's called Softly in 7. As softly as in a morning sunrise, which is a jazz standard, and we do it in 7/4 time. So we call it Softly in 7, and it's kind of fun to take. That's the other thing I try to do is we try to be challenging as much as we can, given the logistical problems of rehearsal time and using people's time. But it's not just about playing standards out of the real book or doing bossa novas and not putting a lot of care and time into the repertoire. So we're doing a lot of music that is, some of it is very challenging. There's a lot of odd meters. There's a lot of challenging chord changes. So it can be meaty as far as the repertoire goes, but it's always fun to listen to. And it's always got that rhythmic content to it that makes Latin jazz so much fun to listen to. And if people want to dance, great.
There's a nice little apron right in front of the band at McGrath Amphitheatre that will be perfect for this.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to it. I've been wanting to get you guys to Jazz Under the Stars ever since the band formed. Took us a few years to get it done, like it does, but
you guys have a long list, and I really appreciate it. It's amongst musicians in the area, getting a Jazz Under the Stars gig is a prize. So it's a highly sought after prize. Everybody wants to do it. You have a great performance venue, you have great sound, it gets recorded, it's high profile, it's a partnership with a great organization, so it's an honor to be doing it, and we are really looking forward to it.
And we're happy to have Ritmocano closing out the 30th year of Jazz Under the Stars.
Man.
So the concert is Thursday, of course. Music starts at 7 o'clock. McGrath Amphitheatre, Knoll Ridge Park, will be very quiet on Thursday because we'll be at McGrath, which has been a great second venue for us. So looking forward to a great night of music with Ritmocano.
It'll be fantastic. I'm hoping the weather will cooperate, and we'll love to see a lot of people down there.
Jim Dreier from Ritmocano for our final Jazz Under the Stars, which is coming up on Thursday.